Welcome to another guide for another warframe. This time we've got Temple, the Rockstar of the warframes, a warframe specializing in pyrotechnics, being a showman, and letting it be known that rock and roll ain't no noise pollution. And you should specialize in making my day. Leave a like, subscribe, and maybe leave a comment on how you play Temple, because I may play Temple a little differently. And it always helps our newbies out, knowing more builds. Anywho's, let's talk about the abilities. The passive is something I would argue is very unique amongst the warframes. Playing Temple's abilities, and I say playing because they're all musical based, for the most part, in sync with the metronome buff, because there's a metronome that will constantly tick, will buff your abilities, and ability efficiency is increased by 50%. There one is an ability called Pyrotechnics, which, for all of you old Ember heads, is like the old world on fire. You have pillars of heat come out and damage the enemies. It's just no longer a channeled ability, it's just a normal ability. When you hit the metronome, you get multiplied damage and multiplied pillars shooting out by 2, so you get double damage and double enemies affected. This ability is great at ad clearing, right? And adding to Ripper's Wail's time, which we'll get to later when we talk about Ripper's Wail. Their second ability is a cone-based heat damage ability. I say it's cone-based because it shoots out like a little triangle, so it's a little cone, where the enemies also get increased vulnerability to critical chance, which means that it's a very powerful crit buffing ability, because when hit on the metronome, doubles that crit chance and increases the damage of the heat damage of the wave. The third ability is Ripper's Wail, the arguable best ability in the kit. This ability is a buff that increases all heat damage done up to 750%. And when hitting Pyrotechnics or Overdrive on the metronome, makes Ripper's Wail last longer. Yeah, it is unlimited duration if you play it well. And this leads us to the 4, Lizzie, or the ability name Exalted Solo. When you want to be a true rock star, pull out a fire-breathing flamethrower and burn your way to the top. Lizzie is another exalted weapon, this time being a flamethrower that can shoot out elemental waves when aiming down sights and hitting an ability key. When hit on the metronome, the ability no longer consumes any initial energy and is upheld by hitting abilities on the metronome, as it has its own separate bar you will see here in gameplay. My build? Alright, not what I meant to say. Don't add an O into that. My build on Temple involves duration, range, and some strength. We have Prime Continuity, Stretch, Augur Reach, Augur Secrets, Precision Intensify, Flow, Prime Sure-Footed, and Adaptation. The Arcanes are Molt Augmented and Arcane Blessing. This is because I use Lizzie heavily, right? It's a very Lizzie-heavy build, and that's why I use Precision Intensify, and I end up getting knocked around like a ragdoll without Prime Sure-Footed. So yeah, it's not fun. I would use Archon Flow if I had enough capacity, but this is a zero forma build anyone can use, because I have yet to form a temple. I know this build's not the best, right? You don't have to tell me that. However, it works fine in Steel Path, as you'll see here. And now it's time for incessant ramblings from your favorite YouTuber on a warframe that you may or may not care about. Temple is a warframe, honestly, I'm not sure how to think about. On one hand, Temple has one of my favorite concepts. Being a rock star, guitar as a flamethrower is just absolute rule of cool type stuff. On the other hand, I believe Temple has some things to work out, or I just don't like. For instance, I don't like the metronome system. This isn't a fault of the game. I just ain't got no rhythm. All right. I have no rhythm. I can't maintain metronome as well as, say, somebody who gets into the rhythm very easily. It takes me a little bit. I'm a Urelli main. Please just leave me alone, you know. The one, in my opinion, can feel a bit too spammy at times. I have a feeling that they're going to add an augment that makes it channeled, just because, I mean, we've had a channeled ability like that before, which would be cool. I mean, channeled World on Fire would be cool. Or maybe it'll be like a more projectile bait. I don't know, man. We all know that there's going to be augment mods. The 2 is honestly great. It feels good. The crit vulnerability is a nice feature added on top. I don't think there's much that you can do with the 2. Maybe. This is completely off script, by the way, these augment mod ideas. Maybe we can have an augment mod where it's stuns enemies or it increases their fire damage vulnerability on top of the crit, but only fire damage, because, you know, Temple is a very high fire damage warframe. I believe that wouldn't be too bad of an idea either, to have a very high damage fire ability to buff it. The 3 is fantastic with the heat damage boost. The 4 is underwhelming, honestly. There's nothing you can do with the 3 without making it completely overpowered and busted. The only thing that I could think is buffing all the stats, but making it to where it doesn't gain any more time. Maybe decreasing the duration of the ability. So it's like the Goth Spectral form, where instead of it being a constant thing and it revives you, it is 20 seconds of the 3, and you get 1500% fire damage, and you don't have to build up. Instead, it's just 20 seconds and then it's gone. The 4 is underwhelming like every other flamethrower in Warframe. Is Lizzie a good weapon? Yes. But the way flamethrowers in Warframe feel to me is off. It feels more akin to a laser than a flamethrower. I want to see like almost a napalm, like a liquid, right? Getting sprayed out, where there's nuance to the flame instead of it being like, oh yeah, here's flame. It's just my personal opinion. It's nothing against Lizzie, right? Like, it's a cool concept. It does a lot of damage. But I just don't like flamethrowers in Warframe, honestly. I think they could use a little bit of a tweak on how they look visually and how the flames look. Give them a little more of a fire aesthetic instead of it being what it is. Of course, other than the fact that I don't like flamethrowers, Lizzie's a fantastic weapon, and also Temple. This is gonna get some people butthurt. Temple is a they, and I don't get why people get butthurt over it. Just fucking roll with it. I'm looking. There's one. We all know the one guy. Oh, who/cares? Fucking Jesus Christ. I really don't like that guy. Every now and again, he comes up in my mind rent-free, and it pisses me off, but I really don't like it. All in all, I believe Temple, personally, is a fantastic Warframe. Not quite my forte. That doesn't mean I hate him. It just means I have to pick between Urelli, or it just means if I have to pick between Urelli, Temple, Urelli is going to win every day of the week. And also, when I said that wasn't him. That's like EM. Yeah. I hope you all enjoyed this much more heavily scripted guide video. I don't know how this will do, right? This is the first time I've tried scripting one of these guide videos, because normally I just go with the flow. I still will always add on to more of my scripts and go off the beaten path because that's just how I am. But if I have a script to layer and start from, it tends to sound a lot better than if I just go, oh, throw shit on the wall. You know? But with that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next guide, which should be Mirage. It was the warframe that broke the Brahma in literally every single AoE weapon and was super overpowered for a while, got nerfed, got buffed, got nerfed, got a rework to one of her abilities, and then got that as a buff. It's a long story. We're probably going to go through the history of Mirage buffs and nerfs. Ooh, I should do that in the guides! We're not doing that in Temple. Temple's too new, but future Warframes, I may actually pull up patch notes on what they've changed and augments added and do a little digging and scripting for that. That should be fun. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful week.